This show is a proud member of the Blue Collar Roots Network and is created for professionals and people who know what they're doing already. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the network or the sponsors. Do everything according to government regulations, OSHA safety practices, and manufacturer listing and labeling instructions. Not just because someone said so on a podcast. Now, on with the show.
You're listening to the Tool Pros Podcast.
Their loved ones are never confused about what they want for Christmas. Here's Billy Noth and Brent Ridley.
Hello, and welcome to the Tool Pros Podcast. This is your host, Brent Ridley, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Billy Noth. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing great, Brent. A little under the weather, so pardon me if my voice is a little off, but doing pretty good.
This cold weather's got everybody feeling bad at the time, man. It's just super cold out there. It's frigid all over the country, man.
I know, it's crazy here in New York. These are the days that I wish I was actually down by where you are, and then it's really no better down by you than it is up here, so.
We're getting down in the teens every night. A couple mornings it was like 12, 13 degrees. For down here where I'm at in the Atlanta area, that is cold as hell.
Yes, it is.
Today's a cool little episode here. It's called Ask Us Anything. So basically what we did is we took to Instagram and Facebook. We made a couple posts in a couple different groups here, and we just said, ask us anything, guys. Anything you want to know about, anything tool related, talk to us. We'll answer these questions for you. So we have a large list of questions here we're going to go through, and we're going to see if we can answer them to the best of our ability. What do you say, Billy? Sound pretty good?
It sounds like a fun time to me.
Question number one comes from Daniel Anderson on Facebook. It says, if you were a tool, what kind of tool would you be?
Oh, that's a very loaded question. I think I would probably go more for a fabrication tool, more of a welder or nail gun, perhaps. That's what I can picture myself being.
If I were a tool, I've thought about this. When he asked this question, I had some time to think about it. I would be the skill saw Sasquatch. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this thing. It's basically a skill saw, but this thing has a 10-inch blade on it. It's huge. It's for like cutting 4x4 beams or like 6x6 beams and stuff. This thing is humongous, and it is a man's saw. And you want to talk about tear some stuff up, that'll tear some stuff up. And that's what I do. I'm good at tearing stuff up.
Yeah, along those lines, have you seen the twin cut tool with the rotating blades? They spin right next to each other. It's a little 4-inch blades.
No, who makes this?
Initially, it was a Craftsman tool. That's where I had first seen it, but I believe Fine had made one also years back. But one actually spun in one direction and one spun in the other. And this thing would cut through anything. It would just cut through rebar. It would cut through anything down to as little as chicken wire. Like it was nothing. But it was just such a nasty looking little tool.
Dude, that thing sounds awesome. Like, you're not going to make a smooth cut with anything like that, but you're going to cut anything, but it's not going to be for precision. But that sounds awesome.
Right. Kind of like the Metabo. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram. I don't know who posted it. They were taking out the mortar between the bricks with this tool. It looked like a little angle grinder with a vacuum hooked up to it. That's what this twin cut tool looked like. The more I keep saying about that tool, I think that might be the one I want to be.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. Yeah, no, I posted that picture of the Metabo. I got it from Metabo Official, and I posted it on Instagram. That thing looks cool. And what I was really impressed with was the dust collection on that Metabo angle grinder. There was no dust whatsoever. It was cutting mortar out. You cut mortar out without dust collection, it's going to make a huge cloud. But this thing, it was sucking it up just so neatly, and there was none whatsoever to be found. Like, you almost wouldn't even have to wear a mask with that.
Right. But, you should always wear your RZ mask anytime you're doing any of that stuff.
There's a good plug right there to RZ Mask. Guys, if you haven't checked out RZ Mask, go over there, check them out. Use the code EASY20 for 20% off your code. Good friends of the show. Go back a few episodes and check them out. Question number 2. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? This came from Trey Glasgow.
See, and I don't know the rest of the saying, so I'm very bad with that one. But I would just have to say about a cord of wood.
About a cord?
About a cord.
That's a fair assumption.
I don't remember how that all goes, so I'm not smart enough to answer that one the way it probably should be answered.
I tell you what, I did a little Googling on this. So, a wildlife biologist once measured the inside volume of a typical woodchuck burrow. From this, they estimated that if the wood filled the hole instead of the dirt, the industrious animal would have chucked about 700 pounds worth. That is a ton of wood. 700 pounds. Holy moly.
That is.
So there's your answer, Trey. 700 pounds is how much the woodchuck could chuck wood. There's several funny questions, but there's several serious questions in here too. Zach Hinkle from the HVAC Facebook group, which is HVAC School. Stay-Brite 8 versus acetylene, oxyacetylene brazing. Basically the pros and the cons.
Oxyacetylene, cons is sweeping with nitrogen. The fact that you need to do it so you don't get the oxidation. You tend to burn things up.
Yeah, the heat.
The heat's just a lot hotter. I'm a proponent for using Stay-Brite. I use Stay-Brite on almost everything. I catch a lot of flack for it. I do know how to braze. I can weld with an oxyacetylene torch too. But Stay-Brite is my go-to just because I don't want to burn stuff up. And I don't have to worry about the nitro. It is what it is. It's fast. That heat just stays right there. There's so many guys that they'll complain that it has to be a very tight-fitting joint, and it has to be tight. But if there's a little bit of play in it, you can actually build Stay-Brite up as if you were brazing too, but there's a bit of finesse with it. There's definitely a lot more control that you need when it comes to the heat, but I would take Stay-Brite over brazing any day.
I'm kind of with you, Billy. Now, we covered a lot of this in our previous podcast episode where we talked about torches and torch setups and things like that. We covered a lot of this. So, guys, go back there. If you haven't heard that one, go back there and check that out. The main thing to me with oxyacetylene, which that's what I learned to braze with, and that's what I'm very comfortable with, it's you got to get the pipe really, really hot so you have a potential to burn a hole in the pipe or damage the pipe somehow. And then also you get it so hot that you create the oxidation on the inside. So therefore you have to do the nitrogen purge. If you're really honest with yourself and you think about it out here, how many of these guys really purge these lines with nitrogen? Not very many, if you're really honest. And I think that's very fair to say. I've swapped over to using Stay-Brite. I really like Stay-Brite. And I did my research on the Stay-Brite. So I checked it out, and if you look at the specs on it now you got to come at it unbiased here. Don't think of it as simple plumbing solder. You got to look at it because it's a different makeup. It can withstand the 410A pressure, and that's what a lot of guys say it cannot, but it can. So if it's done correctly, a Stay-Brite joint is just as good as an oxyacetylene joint.
Absolutely. I mean, it's 6% silver, so it is a silver-bearing joint. What is it? Almost a 12,500 pound burst on the joint itself. But it doesn't weaken the copper as brazing would. The brazing joint is very rigid, and it's got the same burst point as Stay-Brite, just about. Actually, it's just a little bit higher, but the copper on either side of the joint is now actually got a lower burst point, bursting pressure point. Once you start making it brittle, that's a problem.
Absolutely. And like I say, guys, check out the episode that we did about the torch setups and whatnot. That'll give you a lot more information on this stuff. We got another brazing question here from Kurt Jackson from the Facebook HVAC School group. Now, this is something you're going to have to answer, Billy, because I don't have any experience with this. It says, will a turbo torch work on a cold, windy day brazing a 3/4 inch line?
Yes. However, you would most likely have to kind of step up the torch tip a little bit. Because that heat wants to kind of fan out so far, so fast because of the wind, it makes it more of a pain. I've done it. It's not fun. It can be done. I forget which torch tip I was running. If it was a 2, and I couldn't get it to stick. I could not get the stuff. It was just like globbing on, and I was so upset with myself. And I went down to the truck, and I got a number 3 tip, and I just tried to block as much of the wind as I possibly could. And it took right off. No problem. None whatsoever.
I've never used a turbo torch. I can't even answer that question, so I don't know, but I have seen it. I do kind of understand how the wind would affect it. Now, let's just say, Billy, it's a windy day and it's cold outside and you're getting out of your truck to braze in like just a condenser or something like that, a heat pump condenser on a cold day. Would you reach for the oxyacetylene or, you're a Stay-Brite guy, but let's just say you didn't have your Stay-Brite. Let's just say, would you reach for your oxyacetylene or would you reach for your turbo torch?
I use my oxyacetylene. I know how to use it, but I do go back and forth between the Turbo Torch and my Map Torch setup for Stay Bright. I really don't go for the oxyacetylene much. I like the Turbo Torch, not playing with anything, not playing with the pressures, not wondering if one tank is lower than the other and am I out of oxy. I prefer just a straight acetylene torch with the Turbo Torch tip. So I would definitely jump that.
Do you run like the big B tank or do you run like a small acetylene MC tank with the Turbo Torch on it?
I have one of each. So I don't have to carry my B tank up into an attic. I do have an MC tank that has a Turbo Torch setup on it. I have an adapter that goes from the MC to the B tank setup. So it's the same torch setup for both. So I don't have to worry about getting a whole new torch setup for the MC.
I'd imagine if I wanted to use a Turbo Torch, I would want to have the same setup too, because at times I would want to just use the MC tank because it's real lightweight. You can maneuver around with it a lot easier than the B tank.
Right. I mean, I throw it usually in just an empty backpack that I have sitting in the truck just for carrying stuff around. And I'll throw the MC tank in there and the torch setup and go and do what I got to do. And then I don't have to worry about it. My B tank, I have the Turbo Torch carrier on wheels and the handle and the strap and everything, but give me the MC any day.
This may get you in trouble with your wife here. Here's from Joshua Monk, Facebook HVAC school group again. If you could date anyone, assuming you weren't married, who would it be?
Now, the right answer would be my wife anyway.
Of course, that's the one that's going to get you in trouble. But come on now, let's just us talking here, Billy. Give us the lowdown.
I have a hard time deciding because there are just so many beautiful women that are on TV. And
Billy wants to spread his love around to everyone.
yeah, there is just so many.
I got two really beautiful women that I like, TV stars. Scarlett Johansson, I think she's very beautiful.
Yes.
And also Jamie Presley, I believe is her name. She's very beautiful to me too. So those are the two that I think, and my wife knows it too. I tell her this, so this is no shock if she heard it. I'm not going to get myself in trouble by saying that.
I don't know why, but I'm drawn more to singers than I am actresses.
Sure.
Somebody like Miranda Lambert or Carrie Underwood, somebody like that. To me, they're just beautiful.
Yeah, they are beautiful. I was watching a thing, though, the other night, and Carrie Underwood apparently smashed her face at her house and has like 50 stitches in her face, and like 50 stitches in your face is a lot.
Yep.
I'm thinking, what in the world did she do to smash her face that bad? Jeez.
I didn't hear the whole story. I just heard that she's trying to recover and see how she looks after everything. So
hopefully she looks just as beautiful. We'll find out.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one. We got Jeff Bieberdorf. Jeff, if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize. What about a discussion on tool rental? I've heard companies that will rent you everything from hand tools on up. What do you think about tool rental there, Billy?
I like it. The company I used to work for, we used a tool rental company that was 3 doors down from our shop quite a few times for odds and ends, core drills and things like that, because it wasn't stuff we typically would need to stock at the shop or in the truck. It was stuff that we're going to use it once. I was there for 20 years, so maybe we used the core drill 4 or 5 times. So why pay the money for having it and not using it? Just being able to go and use it for the day and pay for it and then not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Not have to worry about breaking it. Because with the insurance, I mean, it kind of covers everything anyway. So even if you mess up and you break it, you're still covered.
I'm absolutely with you. Now, we got a policy. If we use the tool more than 3 times within a year, we tend to go buy it after that. But if we use it that infrequently, we don't use it that much. We normally just use a place that's right here in town, close to our office here, and it's a tool rental place, and we go over there and we rent our tools from them. We don't do a whole lot of hanging air handlers or hanging units, things like that. So we rent like a duck lift from them because I may use a duck lift like once a year. So I'll go rent the duck lift from the guys, and it's like $50 a day to rent the duck lift. So it makes no sense for us to go buy this couple $1,000, even more expensive duck lift for as little as we use it.
A lot of the Home Depots around here, they've got tool rental services there. It's so accessible to be able to just go and grab what you need, use it for the day, and then not have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about storing it. You don't have to worry about anything.
Exactly. Now, he mentioned something about hand tools, and I don't agree with renting hand tools. Buy your daggum hand tools. Quit being cheap and buy your hand tools.
That I agree with 100%.
This is from the same guy. Proper care and maintenance of your tools. Everything from cleaning them to sharpening blades and lubricating them. Yeah, absolutely. I take all my hand tools out once a year, WD-40 them all, and then let them dry on the back of the tailgate. That's basically what I do to all my hand tools. Like drills and things like that, I'll occasionally soak down with WD-40 just to make sure the chuck spins good, and then I can get the key, get the bits out of it and all that good stuff. But the bigger tools, I try to make sure to change the batteries in some of the electronic tools that I have, the meters and the iManifold and some of the other refrigerant-related stuff, digital stuff. I try to change the batteries in those at least once a year. Because the worst thing you can do is have a tool sit on the shelf, not change the batteries in a while, and then it leak acid in there, and then you've ruined the tool. So,
Right.
What do you do as far as that goes, Billy?
I definitely do the same as far as the batteries are concerned. Although this winter has knocked the crap out of my batteries, that I feel like I'm just changing batteries like crazy now. And a lot of the tools that I have the disposable batteries in. So I don't really have to worry about those for a little while. But yeah, I'll soak some stuff in WD-40. If I get stuck in a rainstorm and my hand tools start getting wet and whatnot, I'm not great with drying them off right away. I'll be honest. I'll just throw them in the truck, and 2 days later, I start seeing rust on them. It's like, oh, crap. WD-40 makes a nice product to actually just soak them in, and the rust just comes completely off. I mean, it makes the tool almost brand new. So I'll throw it in a bucket with some of that stuff and back to being as good as new. And then I'll make sure that my drill chucks are oiled well enough that I can get all the bits out. I can get everything out I need. That's really it. I mean, I try to make sure that the jet rack that I have in the truck is constantly, the rail is constantly lubed so it doesn't bind up on me when I'm pulling the ladder in and out, because I just love that thing. So I just don't want anything to happen to it.
Like my combustion analyzer, that thing should be sent in for calibration and maintenance every year. So when it starts getting the end of summer, I'll take care of that and send it in. Send it to TrueTech Tools, guys. You can also use the promo code ToolPros and get 8% off if you send it into them on your calibration, or basically anything you buy from them. You can get 8% off with that code. They're the go-to people to send it for calibration because they're certified by the manufacturers. And I think, honestly, they'll have a quicker turnaround time, and you'll get a much better customer service out of those guys than you will the manufacturers of it, to be honest.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I had that discussion with Bill Spawn. The one time we were talking about the shop I'm at now, all of the combustion analyzers that they started dealing with and where to send them for calibration. And one of them had an issue. So it was just like, oh, just send them to TrueTech. That's where I would be sending my stuff. So
Jeff also asked on Facebook here, what effect does the temperature have on your tools as far as battery life? When it comes to like cordless tools and like rechargeable batteries, the cold just sucks them down badly, man. It's just like you're recharging them faster than you can keep them charged, it seems like sometimes.
yeah, I had that issue with my Bacharach combustion analyzer because that just uses 4 AA batteries in that analyzer. And I just changed them 2 days before, and I hadn't used it in 2 days. And I pulled it out, and it started to auto calibrate, and then it would just shut itself off. And then it would do it again and shut itself off. And I just went out, grabbed some new batteries, put them in, and everything was fine.
Wow. After 2 days, huh?
After 2 days.
That's crazy.
Yep.
We got Eric Kaiser here. He talks about meter safety. We'll get into a whole episode on PPE and protective gear and safety, stuff like that. I think that would fall under that. That'd be the best thing. You know, as far as meter safety goes, guys, be sensible about it. Turn the power off when you can. Billy shared a great story a couple episodes back about him being electrocuted and how you could learn from that big time.
Yeah, that was such a great story.
It's a good story to learn from. It's not a great thing that happened. My point is it's a good story to learn from.
Yeah.
And basically just check your meter leads. Make sure none of your wires are frayed. Always test your meter on a live known circuit or a known circuit. It doesn't have to be live at that point. Just test it on a known circuit. That way you know it's working properly before you start to diagnose things.
Yeah, definitely don't want to put your meter on something and just assume that because it says 0, it's fine, and then wind up getting hit and it hurts.
Gary Ludwig on Facebook also asks, when is the podcast and where can I hear it? Well, if you're listening right now, you've already found it, which is great. Thank you for downloading and listening to us. Every Wednesday, we got a new episode coming out. I don't know if you're downloading that. You may not know that, but every Wednesday, we have a new episode comes out. It hits out at 6 a.m. Eastern time. Feel free to download it every Wednesday and listen to it. Fresh content. We try to bring stuff that you guys like and that we know you'll listen to. Trey Glasgow says diagnosing communicating systems. I assume he means diagnosing communicating HVAC systems, but I'm going to leave that to HVAC School or like the HVAC Shop podcast. Probably more along the HVAC School. That's right up their alley. They're part of the Blue Collar Roots Network, which we're in. So if you haven't heard HVAC School, which this is coming from their group, so I'm sure they've heard of them. Brian Orr, who heads that up, I'm sure he'll take care of that, and he'll be covering that here soon. So that's one for them. The winning numbers to the next upcoming lottery drawing. What do you know, Billy?
I don't know. Damn it, I wish I knew.
They just had one last night that was like $500 million.
Yep.
It was crazy. I had to go to 3 different places to get a lottery ticket last night. I never buy lottery tickets, but when it gets up like that much, I'll go spend $5 on it just because. I went to 3 different places and the lottery machines were down, and I finally found a place that would sell me them.
Yeah, that's usually about what I do too. Wait till it gets where it's ridiculously crazy. We have one of the, what do you want to call it? The big box stores here, Costco or Sam's Club, whatever is, around by where you guys are. But the Costco that was here, a lot of those employees got together and they would each, give in $1 and they would buy lotto tickets, and they do it every week. It turns out that one of my customers was actually the guy who bought a ticket for that group of people that was the winner of $345 million.
Holy moly.
You never know.
Yep, and you never know. I don't play very often, but I know if I don't play, then I know I won't win for sure. So
Right.
Kurt Jackson says that the next week's winning lottery numbers are 2, 17, 43, 44, 51, and 3. Try those.
Try those. Maybe they'll work.
And if that wins, you guys owe us a lot of money.
Yes, please. I'd be happy with $1 million.
Just a cool meal a piece would be good to go, man. Timothy Nodder. Timothy's a good listener. He's a good supporter of ours. I really like him. I apologize that I just screwed up your last name. Most hated tool that everyone else loves, or most loved tool that everyone else hates.
As far as most loved tool for me that everybody else hates, I think it's the one that I catch the most flack for. It would be my map torch and my damn Stay Bright. Just because I do catch so much flack for that. As far as hated tool, I don't think I hate any tools.
No, you can't hate tools.
I've come across shoddy tools, not that I hate them. They're just not good tools.
Exactly. There's no hate. It's just I like some more than others.
Yeah.
Now, as far as most love tool that everyone else hates, mine is the Zoom Lock. I love the Zoom Lock. A lot of guys out here hate it. They talk about it's unreliable and blah, blah, blah. I've used the Zoom Lock many times. I've been using it for almost 2 years now. I know that's not a long life, but I've been using it for 2 years now, and I haven't had any issues with it. Now, I can't say that I've never had a leak, but I've had a leak due to my issues. I have not crimped it right, and I found it that day on the job site, and I fixed it at the time. It wasn't that I found it later on. I found it right then because you pressurize the pipe, and then you see that it's leaking. So I love the Zoom Lock crimp fittings myself. I think they're fantastic. I try to use them as much as possible. Parker Sporlan is a great company. I don't think they would put out a product like that if there was any doubt in their mind. Great company. And speaking of that, I'm going to the Parker Sporlan plant factory on the 15th.
Damn you.
Dude, it's going to be awesome. We'll hopefully get all kind of stuff for our social media, get all kind of cool pictures and videos, and then we might try to do some kind of podcast or something while I'm out there. That way we can get somebody on from Sporlan and talk to them. I think it'll be pretty cool.
Very cool.
Kurt Jackson says, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
My standard answer would be to go to the commercial and see that it takes 3, because you wind up just biting it after the fact anyway.
Yeah, that's the way it goes most of the time, isn't it?
Yep. Especially with my son. I mean, he'll be 3 this week. He can't make it to the center without biting it.
You never can. You always just got to get tired of it and bite it off. But if we go to Google and we Google this, we say a group of engineering students from Purdue University reported that its licking machine, I wonder what this thing looks like. It's a licking machine modeled after a human tongue. God, this could be dirty.
Yes.
Took on average 364 licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. 20 of the group's volunteers assumed the licking challenge and unassisted by machinery and averaged 252 licks to the center. So there's your answer, my friend. Kurt Jackson, 252 average human licks to the center.
There you go.
You got it, bud. Mr. Kumar down here on HVAC School asked how to stop FCU grill from dripping. I assume that means a fan coil unit. Grill dripping. If you got a grill dripping, you got a humidity issue in the space. So deal with the humidity issue, and then that'll quit you dripping.
Yep.
From Glenn HVAC Man, he said, I had asked a follow-up question for the gentleman from Fluke, and I was wondering if you'd asked him if he responded. What Glenn HVAC Man asked was, is there a all-inclusive, or why doesn't Fluke make a all-inclusive HVAC meter? I did talk to Sean. I sent Sean an email, and I got a response back from Glenn. I recently emailed Glenn after he put that up. I emailed him the answer. What Sean says was to get the 87V or the 87.5 with the amp clamp attachment. And that would do anything and everything that you want it to for HVAC. Milliamps, millivolts, capacitance, voltage, amperage, all that stuff. So that was his answer to get the 87.5. So for those of you who want an all-inclusive meter, get the 87.5 for like $250. Then you get the amp clamp for like another $150, and you got one meter, one bag that does everything HVAC related.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, because I like the 902, but the 902 doesn't do the millivolts and the milliamps and things like that.
It doesn't do milliamp?
It may do milliamps, but it doesn't do millivolts, or it may do millivolts and it doesn't do milliamps. There's one of them that it doesn't do, I know for sure.
I know it doesn't do millivolts. It does do milliamps. Now, there was a question from Chris Charlson. Not really a question, but I guess wanted to talk about thermal cameras. And that is definitely something that I think we can discuss on a later podcast. But just to address that, I have to go with the Seek products. I've got two of them. I love them. I have the Compact Pro and the Reveal Pro. And those two are just two solid little thermal cameras. The Compact Pro attaches to my phone, and the Reveal Pro is just the standalone handheld little thermal camera.
Very cool. Yeah, I've seen both of those, and they look very intriguing. And I think for what we do, you don't need to go out and buy a $5,000 infrared camera. I think for what we do, the Seek products are perfect.
Right.
I want to get somebody on from FLIR or something like that and get them, or FLIR, however you say it. I want to get them on and we can have a full length discussion, a full podcast on that and all that stuff. So I think that's for a future deal. Paul Schwader asked about maintenance and cleaning of tools. We covered that a little earlier. Stephen Bird talks about the Milwaukee 2313 inspection camera. Now, I've never owned an inspection camera. Billy has one, and I reached out to another guy that familiar with. His name's Rob Diploid. He's a good guy. He owns RJ Homeworks up in New York, and he says he loves it. He says he uses it for heat exchanger inspections. He uses it for looking at pipes and walls because he does some plumbing stuff, so looks at that kind of stuff. So he loves it. He can't say enough good stuff about it. Me personally, I've never owned one. I've looked at them, thought about it, but whenever it came to heat exchanger inspections and stuff like that, I've always just pulled the blower. What's your experience with those, Billy?
I like them. I'm trying to remember the model I have. I think I have the 2314. I like it. It's compact enough. It's an M12 battery. I've used it for quite a few things, even something as simple as snaking a wire down a wall and losing the wire, not being able to find it without making the hole too big. It's got the little attachments to attach to the end of the camera and run it up like a snake and pull it out. And I've used it for just drilling a small hole in a duct to see how a damper, an old Troller Temp damper, was not opening. The motor was spinning. Everything was turning like it should be opening, and the blades just were never turning. It was all broken inside. Simple things like that for me. I don't really use it for heat exchangers, but I've done it where just to get in to see the inside of a coil, being able to pop a primary limit switch out of a furnace and just direct it up and see how bad a coil was in, bad a shape a coil was in. Things were going off on limit and they really shouldn't have been, or freezing up when they shouldn't have been. I think it's really an invaluable tool.
You know, those are some interesting uses that I haven't even thought about, because we have lots of zone systems up here, and they're crappy zone systems too, HVAC zone systems. So I can't tell you how many times I've had to cut the ductwork open to look and see if the damper's open or closing. Man, it would be nice, yeah, if I could just take my Varibit, my step bit there, and run a hole in there, 1/2-inch hole, stick the little camera in it, and take a look. That would be really nice.
Yeah.
You might have just sold me on one there, Billy.
There you go.
I think we got one last question here. Kevin Mate from Facebook HVAC Tool Pros podcast group. He asked, what's a good hydronic flow meter kit? I don't have experience with hydronic flow meters, and I don't think Billy does either. The best thing to do, maybe find somebody who does some more hydronic stuff. It's definitely not us. So I don't want to steer you the wrong way. We're the tool pros, but we're not the tool pros in everything. That's why we bring guests on and whatnot, because these guests that we bring on are the true pros. Look on YouTube or Google, find somebody else who's a little bit more familiar with the hydronic stuff, and they can help you steer you in one way or the other.
Well said.
All right. Well, we've gone a little while now. We've answered all the questions that the guys left. I really enjoyed the heck out of this, man. I think this was awesome. We're going to have to do another one here in another 6 months or so and answer some more questions because this was great. Did you like this, Billy?
I did like this. I liked it a lot.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you for all your submissions and all your questions. We appreciate it so much. And thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Your support is awesome. It means the world to us. Thank you so much. I wanted to give a shout out to a cool company on Instagram called What Tools Inside. They make an app for your phone. Guys, go ahead and download it. Check it out. They give away a new tool every day. They gave away a DeWalt battery-powered table saw the other day. They gave away all kind of cool stuff on there. New tool every day. Check it out. They basically give you clues to the tool, and you have to guess what it is. If you guess what it is, then you get entered in for the drawing for the giveaway. So if you guys haven't downloaded the app, go check it out. They're not a sponsor of the show or anything like that, but I just wanted to give them a shout out because they're good friends on Instagram, and they got a pretty cool thing where you can win a bunch of tools, and I know you guys like that. Once again, if you like what we're doing, find us on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, all that good stuff. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing, good, bad, indifferent. That gives us feedback on where to go from there. This is the end of the show. Thank you guys very much. We're signing off till next time, and we'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to the Tool Pros Podcast. The best way to listen to this podcast is by using your smartphone or other web-connected device, and subscribing using the podcast app on Apple devices or the Stitcher app, or Google Store for Android devices. You can find all of the shows on the Blue Collar Roots Network by going to bluecollarroots.com. From all of us at Blue Collar Roots, thank you for listening.